thanks for being here. God, it's really emotional for, me, and I'm sure them watching that. But how is it kind of, you've kind of finished, but you're being reminded of something? How does it feel?
Every time I think I've got over Game of Thrones, I watch something like that and it all comes back.
Video.
I know.
It's really
Was it genuinely like that at read-throughs, though, where it was kind of, there was that element, of surprise and real reaction to storylines and things as they were being told and unfolded in front of you?
Well, the only person who hadn't read the script in advance was Kit. so he was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So it was good for the camera, but he just hadn't done his job.
Yeah. He looked the most unprofessional out of everybody.
But it looks good on screen, though.
But you can, but it does show kind of how invested you all were in this story and these characters. Do you know what I mean?
It's quite hard not to be when you spend the best part of 10 years with the same characters year in, year out. I mean, it's a pretty unique thing to get to know a group of people like that. It's one of those sort of formative bonding experiences.
Yeah. Question for you all: what did you think of the ending? Joke. Don't. But is it? Am I right in thinking a joke? But am I right in thinking that when you did read the script for the last episode, and you discovered what your fate was, so to speak, you were kind of go, hold on, this is a joke.
Our producers, David and Dan, were famous for sending sort of prank scripts.
Did they?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I can remember one year I got a text from Alfie Allen saying, "Mate, I can't believe you jump out and kill me in this episode. That's so cool."
We were all in on it.
I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, Alfie, but sure. So I was convinced that they'd sent everyone a script where they became king or they became queen. I was like, I'm not going to get too excited, sort of waltz into the read-through, like, yeah, it's me, and then find out it was a joke. So I didn't get too excited too early on.
Were you both privy to
No, but Alfie was sent a script that year that said that he was killed by Bran. And we were all sent emails by David and Dan to say, just play along with the story. If Alfie gets in touch with you, just say, yeah, mate, sorry, mate. It was sad to hear it. But it sort of backfired because Alfie was like, yeah, cool, mate, yeah, whatever. Like, wicked way to go out, no worries.
Oh, bless.
Yeah, didn't really have the impact,
Quite
did it?
cruel, I think, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Did you get any false scripts?
No, I survived.
Good. What I wanted to ask you, though, was this brilliant character that, I mean, he's awesome. And we agree? Yeah? And the way that we just fall in love with him, the more we kind of go through each season sort of thing. How involved do you get in talking to the showrunners about the character and how you bring him to life and how you... Because there's, that brilliant tone that he has as a character where it's comedic, it's loyal, it's warrior. There's just so many things encompassed within one character.
Well, it all started with George R. R. Martin's character, but in the novels he's old, and he says "ha" all the time. So I felt like I was betraying the fans because I didn't say "ha." So I was always trying to put it in and suggesting it, and they were like, "I would just keep that out." No, he started out as an antagonist, as a guy who was like a threat and enemy of the realm, and he became a part of Team Jon Snow, and he suddenly fell in love. I don't think that was George R. R. Martin at all. So no, it's we never discussed, but as sometimes you throw something on the table and they write around it. So it's more or less that's the beauty of a TV show that they can use the best things they find and create something new. So it's their work. I'm just the body. I'm the DNA.
You do a bit more than just be a body, I'll tell you that.
Okay, thank you.
Gemma, for you with Yara, she's a fantastic female character. And I just wanted to ask you about how much of that was written down in script and how much you were allowed to kind of add to that to kind of inject into that.
My audition scenes, I related to them immediately, so I felt like I was really connected to her from the start. Whether or not I got the job or not, I was very connected with the material. And so I think they always had in mind where she might go and what she might do. And so, of course, as they find out who the actor is, they will write, to sort of suit that person. But I didn't feel very far away from her, apart from the raping and pillaging, killing bit.
Good, I'm glad to hear. Isaac, how old were you when you first started on it?
10 years old.
I remember making you laugh so much when you were 10. You loved me so much. I remember it being in Belfast,
And you would laugh at all my brilliant jokes. They weren't brilliant. And then he grew up.
And stopped laughing.
I still find you funny.
Ellie's all right.
But what has the experience been like you to grow up on the set of something? But because from everyone you talk to, it does feel like there was this real family environment, and you have these people that you come back to, that you recognise, and these relationships you form. But
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a funny question, and I get asked it a lot. What's it like to have grown up on Game of Thrones? And it's quite hard to say because I really don't know any different. It's this very surreal position I found myself in, where that is normality. That was
best,
just
like,
that was
play in the world.
an unbelievable, chance to kind of be a kid and meet all these wonderful people and work in an adult world from the age of 10. And have to have responsibilities and come in on time and learn lines and all these things that you just don't really even think about when you're a 10-year-old. But I truly mean this, and I know everybody says, it's like a family, but Game of Thrones really is like a family. It's one of those really unique coincidences in time where all the right people were cast at the right time in the right roles and the right crew, and it just gelled. And people, there are relationships that have come off Game of Thrones. People have got literal families they've started, and Game of Thrones has been the catalyst for that. And so to have been just a small part of that, and to have had all these fantastic role models and people to learn from, I mean, it's sort of the best school you could ever ask for.
Amazing. And have you had a chance to, what's your thoughts on how the character turned out in the end, in terms of, starting as this little kid within the story, and then who Bran became by the end of this, and what your thoughts are on his journey and where he ended up?
I mean, I would obviously say this, but I think Bran had the best character arc possibly of anybody. He starts off, and in the very first episode, you think, well, he's toast. There's no chance he's dead. And
he's so cute.
I know. Where did it all go wrong? And he grows and learns, the hard way about a lot of things, and goes from being this traditionally sort of vulnerable character to the most powerful person there is. And I was pretty happy with just him becoming the Three-Eyed Raven. I thought, what a great, story for this boy, this disabled 10-year-old in the harshest world ever, to triumph. So to see him become king and victorious, I think it's so brilliant to have a disabled character win the whole Game of Thrones. I mean, what are the odds of that when there are dragons and all these kind of things going on? Bran comes out on top, and it was really special.
Kristofer, have you got a most memorable scene that you shot?
Well, you have talking scenes and you have fighting scenes.
One of each, please.
No, I've been fortunate to be part of big sequences like the Battle of Winterfell and Battle of the Bastards and the Lake and Hardhome and lots of stuff. And the nice thing about those sequences is that you have like a month or 6 weeks, and that's the only thing you do, and you just feel happy that you come out alive. So that's just it feels like more, but it feels more like sport than acting. You're just chopping down zombies, fuck. But so no, it's a long journey, and it's I had some talking scenes too.
But one of the things that I love is that whole kind of, this slight love triangle that's going on as well, which is, I almost want a spin-off you know, of you know, the sort of the Game of Thrones rom-com type vibe would be.
Yeah.
You'd be up for it?
I'm up for it.
Great.
It's
I'll pass that on.
you have Castle Black, and you have them trying to run it together. It's 19 minutes per episode, and it's gonna be a comedy. Yeah, I'm ready.
It could work. Me too. I think we're all ready for that one for sure. Yara, this wonderful kind of, you know, family's always a big theme within Game of Thrones, and looking at your character's family in particular, incredibly complicated. And in terms of, you know, kind of loyalties being tested kind of left, right and centre as well. Is that I don't know, I wanted just to ask you about the themes that really resonated with you and you were kind of really proud to be
Do I
part
relate
of.
to incest?
Not that one in particular. Not your own particularly, but if there were kind of scenes that you were really proud that the series, you know, kind of portrayed and pushed as well in terms of, you know, whether it be about family or whether it be about loss or whether it be about, you know, disability for people as well. There are so many things covered within the series.
I certainly feel that the question I'm asked a lot is what's it like to play such a strong female character, which is such a boring, redundant question.
Thank God I didn't ask it.
Right? So, because by default, women are strong and feisty and independent and front-footed, and so I feel like it was a real woman written for the screen. Like when I related to it, I was like, this is a person that I am. I am so many elements of this person, as many women are, and so I feel like it did a lot for television writing for women, particularly because suddenly it was like we are now writing. And I know, of course, we've made a joke about the killing and the pillaging and stuff, but you know, at the core, like, this woman knows her family, she knows who she is, she knows what she wants, she really loves her brother, and she knows where they both stand. She really does not relate to her father, and she knows what he's done wrong and why she doesn't need to have her loyalties lie there. And she's a real example of someone who just, you know, stakes her claim and does what she feels is right. And I think that was really inspiring for me to play a character who is very similar to who we are as women. So it changed things certainly in that way. And as you say, certain, you know, disability and yeah, I feel like I was very, very lucky to play this role and be representative of that, and to be, you know, women that come out to me at conventions and stuff, and they say that Yara made a difference in terms of their journey, in terms of their gender and their sexuality and how they feel about themselves and the complications that they've met along their journey. And if a TV character can help someone, it's really special. So it's done so much for so many. Yara's done so much for so many people. So what I'm trying to say is I've changed the world. But anyway, you get what I'm saying.
But I think that the series, it just felt like there was no subject that was kind of taboo for it, and I think that was what was so fantastic about it, was that anything goes, basically.
Yeah.
So great. It just had like
just reflective.
Balls of steel, exactly.
Of exactly what it is, you know, apart from the dragons.
You got a memorable scene?
The King's Moot for me, certainly. That bit where on the Antrim coast, we spoke. Well, you were speaking, Tommy, about Belfast and about how special it is to be at home while you're working. But yeah, I just the King's Moot for me, there was a heck of a lot of dialogue and dynamic about it, and it was the first day we worked with Pilu, and yeah, it was meaty, and I got my teeth into it. Yeah.
Sorry, I feel like I've hurt your feelings by calling him a bastard. I meant the character, not the actor.
He's a bastard.
He's a bastard too.
Yeah.
He's Danish.
For me, that kind of came true in season 8. Jaime Lannister was someone who I only had a sort of brief interaction with.
Wanted to punch his lights out, didn't you?
But he was one of my favourite characters to watch on screen, as was kind of touched upon in that film earlier. I don't know why on earth we do, but we empathise with him. And after he's tried to murder a child, we sit there and think, oh, he's probably a nice guy. And that's what's fascinating about him. And I think it's a really interesting parallel with Bran in that he loses his sword hand, you know, the thing that defines him, in the same way that Bran lost his legs. So I'd always wanted to have some kind of, you know, conversation with, you know, have Bran and Jaime Lannister interact again, and I thought it was a perfect reunion in season 8, you know, Jaime coming in and meeting this really, really weird, freaky, all-knowing raven.
What about you two?
I'd like to come across Cersei, I think. That would have been nice.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Khal Drogo. Where the fuck is he?
Swimming!
Tell
I
me!
think he and Tormund would have had a great party. Yeah.
Where do you think he is?
What?
Where do you think he is?
He's dead.
Definitely, yeah. Whenever I was on set with someone with a sword, I'd be like, "Oh, can I play with it? Can I see it?" Yeah, no, Bran. I mean, even when Bran got given that really cool dagger in season 7, he gave that away. For God's sake, man.
Thank you.
If you could have played any other character.
And that's difficult. I think Tormund Giantsbane. Yeah, I think that.
Maybe Jack and Hagar. I liked him.
Yeah.
Google. There's no reception.
Probably Jaime Lannister. I think it would have been.
Daddy?
Payback time.
Slightly obsessed by Jaime Lannister.
Talking to my psychiatrist there. Oh, wow. Yeah, to my shame, I didn't actually know who he was when we first did the scenes. I mean, I was a bit younger. It was really special. There are very few people you want to do. There are a few people you work with who you sort of you can.
Come on, guys, share.
I was just saying who? Who said Ed Sheeran? But I think we might have misheard. Sorry.
No, multi-Oscar-winning Max von Sydow.
Yeah. He's Swedish.
Sorry, anyway, before we were rudely interrupted. There was sort of a real atmosphere on set whenever he was there. He was referred to as TER, the three-eyed raven, and sort of whenever he arrived, it'd be 3 TER, he's on set. But he was just utterly charming. And he's I can't remember what age he was, but, you know, sort of mid-80s, early 90s, and he was there with his wonderful wife, who sort of, you know, took care of him and arranged, you know, his work. And he was just a real gentleman, you know, very sweet, very nice to work with. And he made, you know, lines that you just thought were sort of, you know, irrelevant, you know, just like a single word line, and he would say it and just the whole room would be captivated. So it was really cool to get to work with him.
No, I don't think I felt restricted. I think the writing did the work for me a lot of the time. And when it was meant to be humorous or light, hopefully I added that levity. But yeah, she's quite a serious woman for most of the time. But yeah, there was very nice light moments that I enjoyed playing with. But yeah, I didn't feel restricted, no.
Do you know, I mean, it's kind of an hour and a half long scene, I suppose. The Battle of Winterfell, I think, is possibly one of the best episodes of Game of Thrones that was ever made. To make an hour and a half of more or less pure battle interesting is very difficult to do, and to keep the kind of story elements and you know, the drama, while, you know, for a lot of it it's just chaos and swords flying, I think is really clever, and yeah, the epic death of the Night King.
Gemma?
It's hack, but the Battle of the Bastards for me was, I've never watched a scene of television before so physically, and so when Jon Snow kind of emerges almost suffocated, I realised that I had stopped breathing as well. Like,
yeah.
I gasped. Again, to achieve that with an episode of television is just incredible. So yeah, that was something for me.
For me, it was when I was really hooked on the show before I was in it, and it was the Jace Momoa's speech in the tent before he kills Daenerys' brother, and it starts just have this this ranting thing is just going all the way. I think I like that monologue.
Amazing.
I didn't understand a shit what he was saying.
Thank you guys for being here. It means the world to everyone here and us as well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your questions. Huge round of applause for Kristofer, Gemma and Isaac.